many of you had heard about, we were doing a lunch and learn here in Atlanta. But Sharmeen and I work in the Atlanta area, and we were doing a lunch and learn in September. And we had people who reached out to us at that time and said, "Hey, I'm out of the market. I cannot make that lunch and learn in Atlanta. I'm not flying in for that. I'm not flying in for lunch." And so we decided, hey, it'd be a great idea for us to do this as a webinar for people who are outside the Atlanta market. So that's what we're doing today. We're going through the same slides that we went through in September. And so for those of you who did see that, we're glad you're back. For those who weren't able to make that and are with us today, we're glad to share with you this information. So the first thing we're going to do, I'm not going to go too deep into the agenda. It doesn't really matter, but we're going to we're going to give you, we'll give you a basis of this. We're going to start out telling you, some people don't know what cybersecurity is. Let's first of all, let's define that, understand what we're talking about. And then let's look at the different types of cybersecurity. And then let's look at, we're in the IT business here at Integris. Let's look at what kind of things do we try to put in place for our clients to protect them. And then you'll see the number 6 there since the last 10%. I'll go ahead and tee that up for Sharmeen and her team at Blackfire. But insurance is that last 10%. We could put everything in place in your network to protect you, and we still can't protect that last 10% of your network. And insurance does that. And Sharmeen will go through the different types of insurance, and then she'll go through how they do that. What she talks. I'm going to talk here at the beginning. And then I'll hand it off to her in the middle, and then she'll wrap it up for us. Let's go to this slide. Let's make sure we define and understand what cybersecurity is. Cybersecurity are measures taken to protect a computer or computer system against unauthorized access or attack. That's pretty broad. There's a lot of things that you could say about what cybersecurity is, but these measures we're talking about are layers. So I'm going to use that term a little bit in a few minutes. They're layers of security that can help protect your network and help protect you as a person, as a personal user as well. This slide I put together because I want to make sure people understand that there's really 2 sides to it. We're a business and we support businesses. But even I've done this for my Rotary Club. I'm in a Rotary Club here in Atlanta. There's still something important in what we would call term personal cybersecurity. So every one of us has a phone. Most people have a computer at home. Even if you're just a personal user and you're retired, or maybe you're not in a business or you're independently wealthy, whatever you're doing, you still need to protect yourself. And there are a lot of things you can do on your phone or on your computer to make sure you're protecting yourself. As you can see, both cybersecurity platforms are set up to protect data. Again, there's a lot of data on your phone. You've got all your personal data on there. Many of you have credit cards or debit cards on there because you don't want to carry a cash or you don't want to carry a wallet. You don't want to lose those things. So you've got to have your phone protected so nobody can get to that. It's the same way with business cybersecurity, except now we're dealing with data that affects a whole business. If a business lost that data, they could potentially lose that business. The business might have to close. So that last bullet point there, companies and individuals must protect their digital footprint. That's what I'd like for you to remember here. Make sure if you do not have a password on your phone, please put one on their device. Most people today, a lot of people are using their thumbprint or they're using their iris or something. Those are things that are really hard to replicate. Make sure you're doing things to protect yourself. Now, who's out there? People say, why do I need cybersecurity? Who's trying to get to my data? I have this kind of a business. I have a cleaning business, or I have a law firm. Is a little different because obviously there's a lot of data there. It could be any type of business. It doesn't matter. What I call the cyber attack mafia is out there, and they're an organized crime syndicate. There are a lot of different companies in there. We've heard about the five families in The Godfather. The same idea here. There's a bunch of different groups out there, but they're very organized. They are businesses trying to get money out of you because they know you'll pay if they encrypt your data. Where is it happening? As you see here, Romania and Russia, we always hear that it's happening in Eastern Europe. But it does happen here. There are people here who are organized crime syndicates in America, in France, in Egypt, in other places that are out there looking for ransomware. They're using ransomware as a way to try and get you to pay them, so they'll give you their data back. And how are they doing that? They're doing it because if you look at the back, they're fishermen. Everybody knows what fishing is, right? FISH, PHISH, phishing. Most of the time, they're getting it through email. It could be that your network has a hole in it. It could be that your firewall has something open on it that they're able to get into your network. But a lot of times, how people are getting in, they are getting in through phishing. They're saying an email, the email looks legitimate. If for some reason somebody in your company clicks on it because they think it's legitimate, and the next thing you know, the bad actors in your network, does that mean they're going to act right away? Well, they may wait for several months. They may gather a lot of data. They may gather a lot of control of a lot of people's computers. And then at one point, they will encrypt all your data, encrypt those computers. And next thing you know, you can't get data. As you look at the bottom, it also says they're looking to use AI to make emails look and sound more real. Artificial intelligence is something a lot of people have heard about ChatGPT this last year or two. This is another tool they're going to be using to get to people. So be aware. These mafia types, these cyber attack mafia people, these ransomware experts are all around the world. And all you have to do is be vulnerable. If you put enough things in place and they see those layers in place, they will likely pass you by. Make sure you're make sure that you and your company are protected. So again, people say, why is my business vulnerable and why should it be? If you look at this, some people say, as I said before, you got a small company. If you see the second bullet point, it says 37% of companies that are hit by ransomware had fewer than 100 employees. We hear the ones where Target gets hit or the casino in Vegas gets hit. Those are ones that hit the news and everybody hears about it. It's a lot easier for them to get smaller companies, and smaller companies very likely don't have the cybersecurity layers in place to protect their business. If you think your business is not vulnerable, you're wrong. Any business is vulnerable. If you think you have, I'm in sales. I was talking to a prospect recently who said, hey, we've got all these things in place, Jay. Great. When we finally had one of our engineers dig in and actually look at what they had in place, it was not what they thought. They were not protected. So even if you think you're protected, but remember that nobody's perfectly protected. And if you're not sure, you need to have someone review that for you. Now, this here is probably one of the more important slides on our end, on the Integris side. We call this the 7 layers of cybersecurity, and this is really important. At each level, there are things that we do for our clients to protect those assets. As you can see, the one there in the middle, the one that's in red, mission critical assets, data security, application security, endpoint security. Endpoint would be a computer you have or a phone or an iPad. A network security, which covers the whole network, whether you have several locations or just one location. Network security is something that we've put different things in place to protect that network and to alert us if some bad actors are trying to get in. Perimeter security, which is outside that's looking at the whole network. If you have several locations, it's not just looking in those networks, those individual networks, but it's looking all across the company. And then there's the human layer. The human layer is the one I was just telling you about. You can have someone in your company who likes to click on attachments or likes to click on videos that come in through email. It looks like it's from Wells Fargo. It looks like it's from Microsoft. It looks legitimate. There are a lot of ways that we could teach you where those things are not legitimate. But if you click on those, again, the ransomware actors usually do not act right away. It doesn't mean that your computer's encrypted right now. A lot of times they'll just stay around. They'll gather some more data. They will make sure they can lock your computer down. Plus, if they can get into certain computers, they find out how much money you actually have. And if they know how much money you have, then they know what they charge when they get your data. So again, all these layers are important. And here at Integris, we have some for every one of these layers that we put in place to protect our clients. Again, as Carl pointed, if you look to the right where it says post a comment, or if you have a question, please put a question in if you have any questions, and we'll be glad to answer those. Now, I mentioned this slide. This is slide number 6. This is the last 10%. So no matter what we do as an IT company, no matter what we put in place, we have a whole cybersecurity team. So here at Integris, we have a lot of employees. We have people who all they do all day is cybersecurity work. They are not answering the phone. They are not going out on a client site. They are just dealing with cybersecurity issues all day, no matter what they know and how smart they are and what we have in place. If you see that first bullet point, it says those people cannot control human interaction with technology. I just mentioned it. You could have someone in your company who some person may just like to click on anything that comes in. It's an attachment, it's a link, it's whatever. Or it could be somebody who, hey, I'm being really careful. I know I shouldn't click on these things, but it looked really real. I even went through the things you told me to do, and it still looked real. It happens. It happens. So how are you prepared? How do you prepare yourself? So you can look at these levels here. Level 0 is unprepared at all. You're not prepared. You have nothing in place to really protect you. Number 1 is reactive. Organizations have some basic platforms covered. Number 2 is proactive. They have some process in place. And then the level 3 is where we want everybody to get to, where your network and your cybersecurity posture is anticipatory, meaning we're anticipating it's going to happen. And if it happens, these are the things we go through to protect ourselves. One of those, and I'm going to hand it to Sharmeen in a second. One of those definitely is having cyber insurance in place, because we as an IT company cannot protect that last 10%. No matter how hard we try, we never can. So I'm going to hand it to Sharmeen and let her go through some slides with you and explain what she and her company do.
Hello. Thank you, Jay. Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad that you're taking this time out of your busy schedule and joining us for a little bit. Um, as we all know, technology is advancing, and cybercrime is the fastest growing crime in the world. But most attacks are not covered by standard property or crime insurance policies. It is so important to understand the difference and importance and be create that cyber culture. And that's what Jay and I are in this game together, to make sure that we educate as many of us as possible. We have to understand that our system is so critical to operating our day-to-day business, and our data that we have is our most important asset. Yet the downtime of the system or breach of our data is not covered under business interruption, property, or general liability insurance policies. They were not there before. So this was something that was never built in before. And now is the time that we've got to concentrate on it. Data, the third party data is valuable. And we, as owners of those data, can be held liable if we lose it or if it gets breached. You can say, "Hey, I don't store anything. It's just a pass through or a touch and go." They're still your client. It's still your data. We have to understand that it is our responsibility to protect the data that we store, process, or even see in our system. Complying with breach notification laws, they cost time and money. And again, not covered in the general policies that we have nowadays. Social media usage is at all-time high, and claims are on the rise. Jay was mentioning about, even if we're so careful, yet we might happen to hit on a link as at being a human error. We were looking at an email the other day, and the difference, there was a Citibank phishing email, and the difference was how the A was written. Guys, you and I may not have that eye at all times. And that's why we need cybersecurity and cyber insurance in our lives, in our businesses. We While we hear the large scale hack attacks on news, it involves big companies. Small companies are also at risk, and they don't often have the financial resources to get back on track after a hacking attack or any other kind of data losses. Let's let's just be real, right? We don't make it to the news, but doesn't mean it's happening. I have bukus and bukus of examples with with our own clients, with clients, and it's happening every day. I don't see them on the news, but it's happening. So with that, let's look at the next slide. I want us to look at how standalone cyber policy is constructed to meet today's digital and cyber loss needs, and why cyber insurance is so important for all of us to have. It is so critical that cyber insurance offer not only third party, but also first party coverage. So let's break that down a little bit. First party is you, your business, your expenses. Third party is to make whole of the parties whose data under your supervision got breached. When there is a breach, there are defense costs, liability costs, fees, fine, penalties from regulators that third party cyber would cover, take care of when the cyber insurance is active. First party coverage includes the expenses that you as a business would incur as a policy holder. Ransomware, business interruption that caused by system failure due to a cyber event would need coverage. When there is a third party cyber breach, your company needs to pay for notification costs, credit monitoring, and any other requirements that are given to us by our state regulators. So, how Jay was talking about the layer of either being not prepared at all or being reactive. So, those are some of the things that we're ultimately reinsuring ourselves or self-insuring ourselves in the back of our minds, whether we know it not, whether we have the budget for it or not. If it comes, it hits really big. And this is where the cyber policies can offer you that cyber insurance, the cyber cushion that you need. Another thing that's really, really common and growing day by day is cybercrime and social engineering, wire fraud, electric transfer fraud, service fraud, telecommunication fraud, invoice manipulation on the other side of things, where you don't even know that as a CEO, an email is going out to other companies and for the invoice or anything like that. That happens all the time. It's called business email compromise. It's all part of social engineering attack. And now you'll start seeing cryptojacking in your cyber policies. You may think you not need it, but what's happening nowadays is the hackers are stealing your electricity to crypto mine. And that's becoming more and more common as well. And Jay mentioned earlier when he was sharing some of the statistics about ransomware, US being the top category. If you notice the percentage we are at in US is 43%. We are compromised a lot, almost half of all the ransomware attacks that are happening all over the world. That's huge. That tells us that we really need to build that the cybersecurity culture around us, our businesses, and our personal experiences. You'd always want to have a look at cyber coverage that is not an endorsement to your general liability policy. That's another thing I really want to mention there. You might have current coverage with an endorsement of or privacy policy coverage for the third party. This is no longer sufficient coverage. You need a full blown standalone cyber policy with a carrier that is constantly updating their insurance agreement with what's happening today because they study trends of ongoing and current or recent cyber claims within their own database. And they are constantly making adjustments, right? Just like I mentioned about cyber crypto mining, you'll start seeing that a lot of policy will also include that because that is happening. They're not doing it for fun. Neither they're in the business to pay out on their own. This is something that's needed now. And they understand that in order for them to be competitive, they also need to offer, just like we do for our car insurance and our home insurance, right? So this is where that comes into play. So let's look at what next slide we'll talk about what we need to be doing to have that cyber culture that we can say that we are there, we are proactive, right? Organizations continue to be targeted by criminals because they have made poor technology choices, often exposed to the public internet that make them vulnerable. It is more important than ever that companies take their time to understand their cyber risk, right? Looking at, I'll tell you some of the things that are here, they're actually a requirement on your cyber application. For example, multi-factor authentication, more and more cyber carriers are now asking that, hey, do you have MFA, multi-factor, or some, you might also hear two-factor or two-factor authentication, right? They're asking, do you have that turned on for your email? Or if you use remote access, do you have it turned on for your remote access? What about privileged user? Do you have double verification on that they're getting on your system or and logging on to the network? So the things they will also ask for, hey, are you backing up? Either it's a cloud backup or a segregated backup, or even couple of different ways that you're backing up, right? Some of them is cloud backup, some of them is on an external drive, and then Integris would also have some other options to make sure that your backup is secure and accessible when, God forbid, there's a time that you need to bring up all your backup data back to being live in your network. Some of the other things that you also want to do to reduce your cyber risk is having a secure email gateway. You want to have dual authenticate authorization for fund transfer fraud. This is where you call to confirm payments prior to transfer. And you don't just call the number on the invoice or in the email. Like I was telling you example earlier about an email went out from me saying that, hey, you're my vendor. You usually send it to me at such and such email of bank account and routing number or wire information. But now, can we change it to this? And that happens all the time. If we just take this is not something that's normally expected at all times. It's not pre-communicated, so you always want to make sure that you're picking up of your phone and confirming. I'll give you a quick example. One of my clients had a recent situation where one of the employee was asking for updating the direct deposit information, and the team, the accounts payable team, they went ahead and updated the information. It was caught 2 weeks later that it was not authentic request by the employee because they never sent that email, right? It's so common for us to see those emails. And yes, nowadays the emails are not from Prince of Nigeria anymore. They're from you and I. And we need to really recognize that it's no longer looking at each email very with vigilance, but also having those cybersecurity measures that catches all of that. A lot of us also use password manager to make sure that our passwords are secured. We also, some of the other things that we see on our reports that cybersecurity insurance company, they provide as a complimentary report. I see them, they're looking at DMARC, they're looking at SPS for authentication and things of that sort. Another thing we also want to do is employee cyber training and awareness training. It's constantly changing. It's not a one and done thing anymore. We have to constantly update ourselves, inform ourselves, be vigilant, and be cyber resilient in understanding what's happening nowadays, right? It's no longer that Nigerian prince that's emailing us anymore. It's you and I. We have to start understanding what those new trends that hackers are taking now. Of course, we want to add cyber insurance policy to our portfolio, and we want to have incident response plan as well when we are having a company and we have our digital footprint, right? It doesn't matter what kind of data you have. You can't just say anymore that, hey, it's only the doctors and the lawyers and the accountants that needs it. All of us who have any sort of online presence, have online data, they we all really need to focus on making sure that we're doing everything we can at our end and being proactive and securing our network. So let's look at a couple of examples really quickly before we get to the end here. I'll give you example from nonprofit, right? Who would think that Nonprofit don't usually have a lot of revenue. They have no revenue. They just have budgeting balance, right? That they run to a service that they're offering. So here, and as an example, an association providing medical care support services to people living with HIV and AIDS they had an office burglary. An employee's laptop was stolen. The laptop contained a spreadsheet with client's name, date of birth, and client status. That's it. The laptop may be covered under the property insurance, but the data, it is not, right? This is where you knock on the cyber insurance policy. Another example would be a manufacturing company. They became one of the manufacturing company that we know of became a victim of phishing scam, which compromised the W-2 of their 300 employees. They had nothing to do with outside, just their own data. By the time they realized what had happened, numerous employees already had tax returns fraudulently filed in their names. Notification costs to their employees and 2 years of identity theft protection was covered by cyber insurance at no cost to the employees. So over here, you're talking about their own people, their own folks. You're providing credit monitoring and notification costs. Just imagine if it had happened with the outside of your own company data, right? Third party, which there's always a chance that it can become a liability lawsuit in the future as well when the data is breached. Another example I would go really quickly is a law firm and a CPA firms, right? There was a possible data breach due to tech issues, HIPAA related. The carrier provided assistance, forensic analysis, and HIPAA related follow up to third party clients as well. Notification calls, credit monitoring, and all of those things that HIPAA requires you as a company to provide to those in loss, just in case if something happens to them. Now, we're not even talking about future lawsuits. Again, this is just at the first precautions as a cost to you that you lost the data, you did not protect it. These are the things you need to do. In the next slide, as I wrap up, I just wanted to emphasize that cyber insurance does not replace the need for cybersecurity insurance. Insurance cannot protect your company from phishing, malware, or insider threat, but it can help minimize the financial damage caused by these incidents. We all need financial cushion for our survival, just like we have car insurance, homeowners insurance, or even renter insurance. And we also ensure at the same time that we're locking our doors, we're secure, we're setting up security alarm. We might even have ring on our doorbell. And we make sure that we don't leave our valuable on a plain visible side so our car gets broken into, right? Same concept applies to cyber security and cyber insurance. It's no different. Our digital world is rapidly advancing and changing. It is only fair that we are cyber resilient and be intentional about safeguarding the use of technology as well and have that cyber culture in all of us, not just the top level, not the middle, not the IT folks, not the cybersecurity folks, but all of us together. We have that understanding that we got to give that a priority and be cyber resilient at all times. So, with that, back to you, Jay, with any final thoughts you may want to add.
Sharmeen, thanks a lot. That really, you even brought up some things today that make me think. And for those of you who have not been a part of one of these webinars before or don't know much about cybersecurity or cyber insurance, hopefully we got you thinking here and got you thinking about, are you covered? Should you do this? Should you do that? And by the way, Lori, I appreciate your question. We're going to answer that in just a minute. I want to make sure we let everyone know what we're offering here today too, because we want to make sure that for those of you who feel like you need it, we want to do a review of either or both of your cybersecurity and your cyber insurance posture. Make sure you got a invite here. You're going to get a review of this as well, where you can respond to this. Please let us know if you would like either or both of those. We will review your cybersecurity posture and your business and let you know if you're in a good position. If you do not have cyber insurance, we'd love for you. And I know Sharmeen would be glad to talk with you about that. Or if you do have cyber insurance and you're just not quite sure if you're covered, she can actually look at your policy and tell you what that policy entails. You might have had it for a few years and it might not be applicable for today's world. Please let us know. We're going to give you a question. And Sherman, I think this is one for you to answer. Lori asks, how does cybercrime affect electronic data?
Maybe a little bit more specific in terms of what we are talking about. Are you talking about the wire transfer between the EDI? In either case, as long as you are constantly making sure that you're doing everything at your end, the cyber insurance will cover that. Now, there's a difference between cyber insurance and cyber crime piece of cyber insurance versus a full blown commercial crime policy. And I'd be happy to discuss that in a detail with anyone that would want to talk about. But I'll tell you, a lot of these carriers now, when there is a cyber attack in general, one of the things that they look at is, hey, did you have your MFA turned on when you were doing all of this, right? A lot of carriers even have their own reward system internally where they may even waive the deductible depending upon which company you go with, or if you're using their internal system to do forensic analysis and to tackle the cyber event that took place. They even waive the deductibles and things of that sort, and some of them offer extra breach response. So it just all depends at who we're looking at, and then we can tackle that a little bit more. Jay, as it's very important to look at cyber policy and review, even with your own agent, right? Every few years or every 2, 3 years. And nowadays, I would say every year, especially because the cyber trends are changing so fast. Sometimes premiums are changing from December that I'm quoting someone. And if I quote that same company for next year, it's different. It's changing because they're looking at their outlook of how the claims are incoming, what they are going to incur as cost themselves as a company, right? So they're adjusting. So there's a lot of things you want to make sure that your policy is offering, how they're offering, whether the ransomware, right? Whether it's a reimbursement or pay behalf of. There are some companies who will reimburse you, or some companies that will pay behalf of. So it's important, and it's okay to take that option that's reimbursement because it might be a little bit cheaper, but understand that this is what you're signing up for. As long as you understand that, it's important that it's understood by your company and you understand your cyber policy. So I'd be happy to look at your current cyber policy, or when you're up for renewal, you want some more quotes along with your current carrier quotes. I'd be more than happy to help, or even just look at your policy. Definitely.
We really appreciate you being here.